And we're live. Modern Relics Podcast. I'm Angel. He's lucky we're back. It is us. What's good in the hood, man? Welcome. How are you?
Good. Once again, sorry for last week. But that was my stupidity. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this properly. In the moment, I temporarily forgot that the following Tuesday from that episode that the last one we did, was my wife's birthday.
Yeah.
And I should have remembered because, I never forget her birthday, but it is systematically the same day as mine every year, and it's 3 weeks after my birthday. So I should have just thought about it at the time, totally spaced it. So I apologize again to the audience, but so no birthdays this week as far as I know, or for anybody that I actually care about. So honestly, I'm sure there's plenty of birthdays for people I hate, but
for the longest time, that was the only reason I hung on to Facebook. And I have not had a Facebook account for more than 10 years. But it was to see whose birthday it was. That was kind of the only real reason. Now, if it's important enough, I will put it in my calendar and then I'll hit repeat annually. And then my notifications for my calendar got way too bad, so I muted them all. Sometimes I don't even catch people's birthday I want to remember because it doesn't notify me now, because it'll just be a non-stop onslaught. So I did send her a happy birthday text. I wish I could have sent her a little bit more, but I was kind of on fire last Tuesday, so I also was extraordinarily busy, as aforementioned from the prior pod. So did she have a good day, do you think?
Yeah, she had a great day. We actually, we woke up and the kids kind of went off and did their own thing. So her and I made her some food, and then we actually kind of had a day of going out and about. In the way of things, I got her some gift cards to some places she likes, but her main gift, my wife is a very practical woman, and since the dawn of our relationship, she gets the most excited about what normally men get excited about, which is tools. So she'd been really wanting a lawn edger.
Ooh.
For a long time, so I got her a lawn edger, which she has already taken to practice and is learning how to use with the efficiency of a ninja warrior as per her normal capacity. So we had a great time. Then we went to a new restaurant in town for dinner. And we went actually shopping all day, which is weird for us. Her and I don't really get to do that very often, but we went to fun shops. We went to the culinary store, but then we found a new tea and spice shop. And man, I spent like $260 at just a tea and spice shop. And we got all of these different
reasons, your spices. 50s are in sight, at least over the horizon, is the excitement and wealth dumped at a tea shop. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was like, ooh, bread pudding tea? Oh, it smells just like bread pudding. I bought it, of course. It was marketed perfectly for us. So, but yeah, it was one of those things where every little thing we put into the basket just kept adding up. And it was like, well, we can't walk away without this pickle spice, of course, put it in there. And And so, but then after that, we went to this new restaurant in town that's a Mexican restaurant that from what I can understand, the only other location is in Mexico, which they decided out of anywhere on the planet to put their second location. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Yeah. Seemed like the best place. It took over the old Chili's building, which is right there on 95. And they revamped it. It's super fancy looking, and they don't take reservations, but when we got there on a Tuesday night, it was so full that it was a 45-minute wait, but the wait was worth it. And so the food was really good. The service was great. And the food was good because the very authentic staff, let's say, seemed nervous.
Yeah.
And like the entire time they're like looking around every time, like we're taking the orders, and they're like kind of spooked that, ice is around the corner. But it was very, very, very authentic, and it was great. And for as fancy as the place looked, it was pretty inexpensive. I was actually kind of shocked at how, I fed 7 people with like drinks, a couple of alcoholic beverages, a couple of just like Cokes and teas and stuff, and 3 appetizers. And it was for 7 people, like $218.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So not bad. So I was expecting way more than that. And so it was bad. It wasn't bad. It was, the food was great. I'll probably wait until the crowds die down again before we go back there. But, yeah, she had a great birthday. She enjoyed herself and yeah, outside of that, last night, well, before I get into my stuff, how has your week been?
It has been pretty crazy. I purchased a set of replacement headlights for my truck, and not the bulbs, but like the actual housing, the whole 9 yards. And the reason for that is I bought a truck that all of the research and development kind of went into the suspension. And then the rest of it, it's a General Motors product. The rest of it is kind of a parts bin, Chevrolet GMC grab bag of parts, right? And that's kind of what they do. They give you like the signature stitching on whatever edition you bought, and then the rest is like, yeah, you can see the same part on a multitude of vehicles dating back to 1995. One of those parts is the headlights, which is really unfortunate because when it's really dark out, especially when it's dark and wet, and I used to live in a dark, wet environment before I moved down here, you can't see very well. I have a big problem with halogen old H5, H7 bulbs that just don't cast any light. And when the rain comes and stuff, it just washes out. So what I am a big fan of are high intensity discharge bulbs, or HID bulbs. And if you don't know much about them, many of you are like, please don't explain it. I'm about to. Essentially, when the spark gets sent, it gets sent to a little box, and that box charges the spark and then ignites the gas in the bulb to fire it up, which is why when you turn the car on and turn on the headlights, a lot of times you'll see them burn in from like a really dark purple, and then they get like really bright white, and then it drops the voltage to like a static voltage level so they can just stay on with a constant spark. But you need a lot of energy to light these bulbs up. But the high side is it's very precise, very white, very bright light. So you got to kind of angle them perfectly and get them where they're not blinding other people or whatever, but they're incredible lights. So the ballast, my printer's possessed. The ballasts that power up the bulbs run really hot. And I moved from a not hot environment to a very hot environment. And I started having problems with my HID conversions for these headlamps, right? So suddenly you'd start the car, only one would come on, sometimes both, sometimes just the other one. And very unreliable. The other issue is when the truck locks and unlocks, it flashes the headlights. And that requires a ton of energy to throw that spark to get those to burn in. So something broke where it was very unreliable, and I got tired of it, so I bought new headlight lenses. I say all that to say, I spent 3.5 hours in 106-degree temperature in my garage trying to get the bumper piece and the valance piece off the front of the truck to get to the headlights. Now, for perspective, I can disassemble the entire Nissan 370Z with one 10mm socket.
Yeah.
You could probably break the lug nuts off with a 10mm if you got creative enough. You could take the whole damn thing apart. Domestic cars are bananas. Like, it torques on top of hex bits behind SAE and metric different. 3.5 hours, and I went, I'm paying someone to do this, and put it all back together. I came inside. It looked like I jumped out of a swimming pool. It was so gross. just drenched in sweat. I'm like, taking a shower, gonna have somebody else do this. So went to the place that has helped me do some car wiring before, and they were like, of course, we can take it in today. And I was like, sure. I was just going to make an appointment, but perfect. So I threw him the keys, took a cab home. I came back at closing. That guy was so pissed. Just like, man, they're headlights. Like, it's a straightforward install. None of this is complicated. God damn it. It took us 5 hours to get that from it. I was like, yes, I didn't have to do it. I was like, thank you for your help. No reason why I couldn't do this myself. So it was the best, like, $180 I spent to have somebody else swap in headlights. And now, as luck would have it, they're LEDs. It's a low voltage. It does have a resistor, but it doesn't take a big ballast to charge the light. And it fires up and works first time every time. They're very, very bright. And I hope I angled them to match the original beam so I don't get people honking at me as I drive by on low beams. But I have functioning headlights again, and that feels really good. Why is that a highlight of my week? Because nothing else went right. So lots of stuff, as discussed last week, is trailing into this week. The work front continues to be a saga of nightmares, and it's getting worse by the day. So lots to do. I prepped you offline midday today. Yeah. I think we spoke for like 10 minutes, and you're kind of abreast of what's going on. So as changes are coming, and tomorrow's a big one of the cascading starts to those changes, I'll keep you guys posted. But other than that, we have new functioning headlights. Feels good. I can still see. I don't have to worry about those old school parts bin headlights anymore. And yeah, there you have it. The highlight of my week are 2 functioning headlight bulbs. Speaking of someone who's excited, charging into middle age, you know, I have working headlights. This is the light of my life at the moment. So.
Spice stores and working headlights.
Oh man, it's the little things.
So, right. My week was, you know, fairly, you know, just work related and such until yesterday. And yesterday I had a couple of things that were fairly adventurous.
Yeah.
With both my children, one of which I kind of filled you in on, and the other one I haven't. I was kind of keeping it for a surprise to garner a reaction. So first off, after running a bunch of errands yesterday and getting a whole bunch of list stuff done, getting oil change and all that kind of stuff, one of the things, my phone finally tapped out. It was one of those times, like, I stretched it to its limits and kept having to erase a bunch of stuff. And
by a couple of years, you stretched it to its limits. Yeah.
So to be fair, I had an Samsung S10e. Yeah. And so they are up to the S23s now, so that should give you the gap of how long it's taken. And it was functional, you know, like the camera worked when I wasn't full, you know, because I've got nearly 20,000 pictures on my phone, but I only had so much memory. This has double the memory, you know, which is what I needed and stuff like that. So anyway, but I'll get more into that because there's a story that's attached to me getting a new phone that involves technology and how I react to it. And so, but after all that, during the middle of the day, I got a random message on Facebook from an old acquaintance, or, you know, / kind of old friend of yours and mine from way back in the day, back in the Seattle days when before I owned a shop, Kate, before Oliver was even, you know, I think Aaron was just pregnant with Oliver when I started working there. But it was at Diamond Tattoo where you worked as well as counter help. And one of the people that worked there was a piercer by the name of Justin.
I autoclaved a lot of parts in those days, late into the evening. Yeah.
And Justin was one of the piercers there, and punk rock guy, just kind of funny, just cool guy. And he was always in a band, you know, played music with Magenta sometimes, but he was also in a bunch of other punk and hardcore bands. And for the longest time, he was in the Insurgents with one of the other tattooers there named Jibbo. But I mean, I think I've seen him twice in the last decade. The last time I saw him was when Erin was pregnant with Oliver, and we were over here for Camber's wedding, and we went to go see Rancid. I did, and the Insurgents opened for him, and I saw him on stage. But then, like, years and years later, Justin came over here to visit when I had another apprentice that they were in a band together and stuff, and so saw him for a night, probably, I don't know, 8 years ago or so, and hadn't really thought of him since, right? I got hit up by him, and I go, he goes, "Hey, I'm in Coeur d'Alene. I'm playing a show tonight with the band Fang, and I would like to put you on the guest list." And I'm like, wait a minute. First of all, there's a place for punk rock and hardcore shows to play in Coeur d'Alene? Like, where? And so it turns out the Black Lodge, which is a brewery pizzeria that is apparently themed in the TV show Twin Peaks, and is downtown, like on 3rd and like Lakeside. It's like right downtown. So, he hits me up and he goes, "Hey, yeah, you're welcome to come." And I was like, second of all, is this the same band Fang that I used to see when I was in the 90s, the late 90s, when I was a teenager, like in Grass Valley, California? Is this the same band? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, they were legends when I saw them when I was a kid. How old are these guys, and how did you get into the band? And he's all, well, it's just the singer is still the main guy. All the other guys have been replaced. So, but it's the same guy who's been singing since 1980. So this dude's like in his mid 60s, still in a full blown. Is your printer going off again?
Yeah. It's downloading updates. I learned a minute ago when I wheeled over there. It's like, auto updates. Who knew?
So. But yeah, so I thought, okay, well, and Erin, this is not Erin's scene. So she's like, no, pass, hard pass. I don't want to go down there and listen to that garbage music, which she's right. It's garbage music. But I thought it would be really funny if the kids, and unfortunately Oliver was working or I would have dragged him with me. But Kate and Wiley, I hit them up. I was like, "Hey, do you want to go see a band, like a hardcore band, and show Wiley what it was like what I used to do when I was 17, 18, 19 years old?" And she goes, "Yeah, that'd be kind of funny." So her and Wiley came down with me to go see this band. We were on the guest list. And of course, there's the opening bands, and it's this small little, like, tiny area pub, super hot, no air conditioning. And
that's how those shows should be, by the way.
Yeah, bunch of sweaty, crusty punk rock dudes, all covered in camo and spikes, and shaved heads or mohawks and liberty spikes and stuff like that. And they sit off in the corner and get a couple of drinks and like get some pizza and just kind of watch the animal show.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. It was hilarious. And of course it was kind of a tamer version because it was in Coeur d'Alene on a Monday night with probably 20 people that showed up to watch this show. So I was like, and in not a divey enough place for these bands. This is a nice place for these type of bands.
Yeah, we're not going to get the propaganda drumstick.
Right. Yeah.
Screaming.
Shoved up the butt. Yeah. Yeah. So, but I mean, one of the singers was our friend Jibbo, who was a tattooer who moved back to Arizona. It was his dad, who's also in his 60s, and he intentionally was bashing his head with the microphone stand and bloodied up his head, and then so those type of theatrics were coming along with 45-second songs of so Wiley'd never been exposed to anything like this. Kate had barely understood this, right? And so like it was kind of a blast to go, this is what I used to come from. So understand the evolution here of where I am today. And so that was a really interesting, fun thing, right? Had a good time doing that. Hung out with Justin a little bit, kind of got the heads up on what he's been doing with his life, which is exactly what he was doing with his life back when we were hanging out with him at Diamond. So really no different. Bartending and traveling around with bands, and not really being able to keep a relationship, never got married, never had kids, nothing. So he's just kind of doing his own thing, and he's happy. Seems like the same old Justin. But outside of that, the night before that, we also had a bit of an adventure. So my son, who makes me proud, but also makes me shake my head on a regular basis. The kid is academically brilliant. The kid is always been very advanced. So he's, going to have 3 associate's degrees from college or the junior college by the time he even graduates high school. He's a smart kid, and there's no denying it. The kid just gets it, and he's got plans for his future and all of that. However, the other night, 2 nights ago, we were in the living room, and Oliver had gotten back from work and kind of changed, and he comes downstairs and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna go. My girlfriend's outside, and I'm going to go with her to help her buy groceries before she goes back home to Athol." And we're like, "Okay, but what time you got to be back?" And he goes, Yeah, got it. Curfew. So they go to the grocery store. They were gone for about 45 minutes or so, probably maybe an hour. And I get a phone call from a unknown number. First, it was a private number. I was like, wow, that's weird. 10 o'clock at night, private number. So I they'll leave a message or text me. Then it comes back with a regular 208 number. I'm like, this is serious. So I answered it, and it's an officer of the law. And the officer of the law says, "Hi, yeah, I got your son pulled over here because he got caught stealing a stop sign, and not just like finding it on the side of the road, pulling over with tools and detaching it from a post, and got himself caught in his big red loud truck." And so here's the deal. He's a kid, and I think he's just trying to impress his girlfriend. However, this is not 1 but 2 misdemeanors with, I don't know, up to a year in jail and $1,000 fine, and that kind of stuff. So I can either handle it here and take him down, and you guys can come and pick him up from the jail, or I can send him home and you guys can handle it as parents. I'm good either way, however you want me to play this. And I was like,
that's a tough decision, because I would imagine your wife, to protect your son, you would have probably preferred that he go to jail to protect him from your wife. And honestly, should I do this or not? The instructions are written right on the very sign that you're stealing. Stop.
Yeah.
Don't do this.
So,
oh, please.
Yeah.
What? So what happens? What do we decide?
To add insult to injury, this conversation happened with his mother literally a couple of days before. He goes, "Oh, I really want a stop sign." And his mother said, "Don't you dare steal a stop sign."
Yeah.
And so I said, "You know what? you're right. He doesn't have a record. I don't want him to have a record. I will handle this. So I do appreciate the fact that you're even giving me the option, officer, when I know, in fact, you not only do you not have to, you probably shouldn't. So yeah. I am absolutely grateful to you that you've even given me the option.
Yeah.
So please send him home and we will handle it from here. He goes, that's what I was hoping you'd do. But yeah, cool. Excellent. So yeah, he packed him up, sent him home, and he comes back home and sheepishly walks up the stairs and sits down. And the first thing I say to him is like, so was there a stop sign on the grocery list that you said you were going to go get? And he just went, no. I was like, okay. And of course, then ensued an hour-long lecture. And what are you doing to your future? You're supposed to be going into law. How do you think this would affect that? Mm-hmm. How do you know, like, yes, the romantic stories of when I was a kid also didn't include cameras and the internet all the time.
Yeah.
And cell phones and all of that. So all of the things that I got away with, you never will be able to. But also, if you want to work construction for the rest of your life or do any other type of just menial labor, do this kind of stuff, because then you'll get caught doing it.
The irony is you'll be installing those signs for the rest of your career if you get busted too many times for removing them.
Yeah. So all of those things, and also like what it could affect, like not just his reputation, but his mom's reputation and my reputation and all of these other things that are connected to his actions. And so, of course, we went through all of that and laid down some punishments that he's going to have to be doing in order to make amends. And then also Aaron bought the arresting officer, or not the arresting officer, but the officer, she bought him a card and wrote out a thank you to the card and sent him some gift cards for how he treated our son. My wife being who she is, it was all of 20 minutes and she knew who the cop was, where he lived, who he lived with, the twin sisters and his roommate that he lived with. So we assume that he's dating the other twin sister, that he had graduated college in 2024. So he was a newbie cop, a very young newbie cop who happened to be in a frat. So he understood. He'd probably just gone through similar hijinks in college as a kid.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, she mapped that whole dude's life within 20 minutes and went, okay, now we got you here, and then sent him a card and some gift cards as a thank you for not dragging our son to jail when you should have. But yeah, so Oliver is currently learning some lessons right now.
Man, what was the driving desire to own a stop sign, like such that you?
I don't know.
Be like, let's pull over and grab this one. Did they even get to the grocery store?
I think so. Yeah, he tried to sneak. He goes, well, we did get groceries. So I was like, I don't care. But yeah, so I think they did go to the grocery store. This was on their way back, and
man,
yeah.
Wow. No, I didn't see that. I didn't see that one coming at all. That's incredible stuff.
We didn't either.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and yeah, I mean, lessons to be learned on so many levels, not only just from, the perspective of us parents, but also just like when you impulsively do something and you get caught doing it, it will make you check yourself forever of like, oh man, I did not get away with it last time. I'll bet you it's just not even worth the risk this time, and hopefully that type of mentality sets in and he learns a lesson from this. But he seemed to be pretty sheepishly aware of how badly he screwed up on this one. So, but yeah, I can't, to be honest, before he got home and we had to put on poker faces, Aaron and I just had a bit of a laugh about it.
How hard did you laugh about this? Because among all the things you could receive that phone call for.
Right. Yeah. Well, at first, and that was one of the things, is that we were like, when we got a phone call at 10 o'clock at night and they were talking about, like, I didn't know you weren't dead for the first 30 seconds of that phone call, So like, that's one of those things where your heart leaps up, and then, and then you're mad. And then you're like, he did dumb stuff. Okay. But yeah, it was one of those things where, I get off the phone and say that, kind of tell Aaron what the details were on it. And there's a couple of minutes of silence. And then she starts like snickering and then starts full on laughing. And then I'm like, dude, like, what? And I start laughing too. And then there was nothing that we could really do other than just go, at least he's not dead. At least he's not hurt. At least he's not in jail. Like, we dodged a bullet here on so many different ways, but like, all the silliness of that type of situation was, but it was something that could really affect his future. And that's kind of where we really hammered down on. It was like, do you think you're going to get into schools that you want to get into with this on your record?
Right.
Do you think, it's just not going to happen. So you need to think about those things before you do them. And so, yeah, it was an interesting evening. And so now he's got a tighter curfew. He's got more homework time, no hangout time for a while. So there's a kind of ruined the end of his summer there. So
yeah, it's a tough break because it's, still July. That's rough.
Yeah. So, but
wow.
We should. So, the other thing that happened to me yesterday was, like I said, I got a new phone.
Yeah.
And I don't, as you've always known, I am all thumbs when it comes to technology. I can fumble my way through some stuff, but barely. And once I get comfortable with it, don't change it on me, because I'm gonna get frustrated and weird. And I'm like Zoolander when he's like, it's in the computer, and I just like, and that's always been me. And
it's a lot of proverbial stop signs around this one for you.
Yes. So before like we get into kind of like, I want to understand kind of a perspective from you that it has always been second nature to you, and it seems to be like a language that you're bilingual to me. Like, you understand Spanish and I don't. And so, but before we do all that, I threw a massive temper tantrum yesterday because I couldn't remember passwords. My phone was basically a brick. It was a brand new $1,000 brick that I could not do anything with. And my frustration started earlier with where I got the phone at T-Mobile, where they told me it was going to be 30 minutes to transfer all of my old phone to my new phone. And I did every chore I had. I went to the bank. I went to the vape store. I went to all the stores within the complex of where I was at. The eyeglasses place to set up an appointment. I went and changed my oil. It took 2 hours to actually get my phone back to me. And I was running late for that concert or the punk rock show that I was supposed to go to. So I'm already frustrated. And I'm just like, once it was done, just give me my phone. But I couldn't get into anything. And it just kept going, that's not it. That's not your password. And I was like, that's my password for everything. Why is it not working?
It's also not a good thing. But go on.
Oh, I know. Right. I know. And that's the problem, is that if I change it even slightly, then I've got 40 billion, like I can't remember anything. So, and so I go into, my wife's like, why don't you put it in your notes? Like, why don't you write down your password in your notes? I was like, if someone has my phone, then all they have to do is go into my notes, and then they have all my passwords. So what's the point of that? Shouldn't it just be something you can remember? Mm-hmm. But anyway, I digress. But I get home, and I had a frustrating day. Topped off with this. It's blazing hot. Our air conditioning isn't working. And so I just popped. I had my once a year like freak out where I'm just like, everything sucked, and just start throwing shit.
The nuclear reactor is melting down.
Oh yeah, just full on nuclear reactor. I'm like, this sucks. This thing doesn't work. It's just a brick now. I just don't have a phone anymore. Everyone, and I went into full lame guy mode. And my wife put up with it. She's still kind of cranky about. I can feel it on her. She's like not over the fact that I had a meltdown. And so I'm taking this opportunity publicly to apologize to my wife for my behavior. I absolutely am sorry.
Yeah.
I was out of control, and I calmed down quickly, but it was uncalled for. And I should just hand you my phone. I'm just always worried that when I hand her my phone, she's going to like do all the settings the way she likes them, and like she's very particular about things, and she's very particular about how she has her settings and electronics and everything. And like I'm always afraid she's gonna like put locks on things or like make it harder for me, like, you know. And I also, part of me is like, I need to learn, but I don't know how. And I wish that she was a teacher, and she's not a teacher. She's a doer. And so I was like, if she had the patience of a teacher who could teach me how to do these things, then it would. But it's like, just give me your phone and I'll just do it.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, but I don't want you to just do it. I want to learn how so that I can do it. She goes, yeah, but you suck at learning, and I'm not a teacher, so I'm not going to do that. I just want to get it done so I can get on to the rest of my stuff in the day, right? And I totally understand that, but it's also like there's an impasse there that frustrates me. And I'm like, no, you're gonna like change all the settings. Like, you know, on Halo, you've got your settings on how you like your controller, right? And she had hers, and I'm afraid she's gonna change all my shit to Boxer.
Boxer,
you know
what I mean? What are you doing?
And so, and then just go, no, but that's the right way. You've been doing it the wrong way the whole time. I think you should do it this way instead of just me doing it in the way I'm comfortable. But anyway, once again, I digress. But my sincerest apologies for my behavior and my lack of decorum, and allowing myself to be bested emotionally by a piece of technology, and venting it into the ether of the living room and towards you. And I apologize.
I'm certain that will go a long way and be well received. I myself am guilty of the nuclear meltdown from time to time on this very podcast, and I'm petty as shit too. So character flaw of me, but we discussed my adventures at Lowe's one time when they thought I was going to steal stuff from them, when I was just like, why is this man following me everywhere, asking me the same question, and then accusing me like as I'm being surrounded by people, which when you're on the defensive and your demeanor is such that it mirrors mine, surrounding me is also probably not the best idea. To this day, I've not set foot into a Lowe's since then. And I think we covered that 2 years ago, and I have not shopped there. It's so convenient. It's right down the road. I won't go. So I hear you. I hear you. But congrats on the new phone. Sorry it took.
It's working now because of her.
Sorry entirely. It took brain surgery at the T-Mobile store to fix everything or whatever. But you know.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Wow.
But because of her, it's running smoothly.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's got a great camera on it and all that stuff. So, and lots more memory, which is basically all I need a phone for. It
larger hard drive to store photos and things.
Yeah. And be able to get onto social media stuff and to, that's about it.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned in the pre-show talking a little bit about the differences between tech and non-tech people, or at least how that mentality works and all that stuff. I'll give you this for what it's worth. When I go shopping someplace, I have to go to a place. How I shop is I know what I want. I know exactly what it is, what it does, where to find it, if it's in stock, and I go procure it. If it's not the right color, is similar but not the same thing, is something I hadn't researched, I don't care how many you have, I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to go home. Like, I cannot. This is where my significant other and I differ. She will peruse. She's very, very good at it. She'll find stuff and touch things and walk around and look at stuff, and she catalogs all this in her head somehow and then comes up with a plan. But that plan doesn't formulate until 4 or 5 hours of perusing have been done. I'm ready to start my life elsewhere.
Yeah.
There's no point. We haven't bought anything. We've not walked out of a single store. Like, please go do that if you enjoy to do that. I love that you love that. Go for it. That's not me. Take my truck. Take my wallet. Get out of here. I don't go away, right? Like, I don't go. So for what it's worth, when I go to those places to shop for stuff and to check out, you have to give them your email address. It's like, I shouldn't have to give you my email address to check out and buy something. And then the teller has no idea how to combat that. Like, I can't ring it up. Money doesn't exist unless you give me your email address, so I can apparently let my company flood you with advertisements for the rest of time, which nowadays is sometimes difficult to unsubscribe to. And now you just have all the shit coming. So that part of the technology ecosphere of like, got to sign in to get your loyalty points to do that, I could care less. Go away. I hate that stuff personally. So for what it's worth, I'm kind of with you on that. I don't know. I think mostly out of necessity, where I got into technology, like, I enjoyed the fact that I needed to figure something out in order to record music a long time ago. Or edit music was really how that started. Was like, I can 4-track anything. I can 8-track anything. But to mix it and all that stuff, you're like, I have to learn how to go through this stuff. And then certain user interfaces become standard. So once you recognize how to navigate something and something else is very similar, it's pretty easy to pick up. And then you kind of figure out, well, this also equals creativity, which equals fun. So it's kind of that psychological reinforcement of like, this is actually not bad to do. It's kind of fun to spend this time creating something. On the other side of that, it came from not liking being told no or gatekept from stuff. A prime example would be if you buy a new BMW, the seat that's in the BMW has air conditioning that comes out of the seat and blows on your legs and back. It also has heater for when it's cold. Some of them have like a massage feature. It's built into the seat, comes with the car that you spent, who knows, $75,000, $80,000 on, right? Can't use any of those features unless you subscribe to it. I hate that shit. That shit. Like, no, dude, I own this thing. I'm not leasing it from somebody else. I'm not paying rent on, like, I own this situation. It comes with the stuff. It's built into the seat. Why will it not work? Technology and learning how to get around stuff like that. That's one example. Was also a creative driver for me to learn technology in a lot of ways. Early on, right? Was like, okay. And you remember when Napster was huge, right? Everyone was downloading CDs before it was a thing. It's like, I can't afford music. I can't afford exposure to this music. And that was a big driver. So it's kind of like all over the board in my life.
Definition kind of when you say creative factor, the way I see people who are mechanically inclined, which I'm not, technology inclined, which I'm not, musically inclined, which I'm not, mathematically inclined, which I'm not.
Yeah.
I think all of those are left brain hemisphere kind of concepts. And because they are all rhythmic in some fashion that is
pattern recognition.
pattern. Yeah. So from that concept of creativity, the way I see it is not so much creativity, but engineering problem solving that tickles your brain. And that's even music. It's engineering problem solving. You hear a pattern that you have to make sound like something that is actually a structured thing. So my brain is obviously way over on the other side, where I really understand
right brain stuff.
Well, not only art, but also philosophy, theology, history. Those type of concepts really come easy to me, and I can kind of manage them and catalog them very easily. And a lot of other people don't have that same concept, but are so, and there are people who can do both. I consider you somebody who can do both. But I cannot do math. I cannot do any type, if forced to, I can do it, but it's like running through mud to do it mentally. And it is.
But you've always been excellent at the larger concept or idea of a thing. Yes, I can see the entirety, all three dimensions of this thing based on this thesis or this theorem or whatever. And I can kind of conceptualize how all this works together in a very, very large and sometimes very, very deep way, where a lot of people would just see that as a forcing function, a mechanism of a greater thing. And that's where a lot of people get stuck with. So very right brain stuff. Instance, good observation.
What you're actually kind of describing there also lends to something that I'm capable of doing, which is people. I really get how the human condition works. I understand how the archetypes of different humans kind of interact and almost the predictability of how they'll kind of interact with each other in life. I can kind of foresee, if I really focus on certain people, almost tell you frame for frame, if given a certain situation, how they will react in those situations, and be able to kind of adapt to that and be able to, so I'm very adaptable in type of human relation situations. Yeah. And so, and that is something that I'm very, very good at. And I recognize that but when we have our political meetings, it is half of that kind of concepts of figuring out the motivations of why people are doing what they're doing within the political sphere of either local, state, or whatever functionality. But then the other part is the logistics of getting the organizations to help do what we need to do. When that stuff starts to happen and they're doing, they've got the clipboards out and they're doing checklist stuff and talking about setting up the Secretary of State websites and all of the different kind of logistical stuff, my brain goes completely
and
I'm out.
This is the archetype for a CEO. Highly disruptive, extraordinarily creative, vision oriented, almost plagued by the art of it type of person that's driven to a specific state. And coupled with every one of those is the executive officer that has to take an outcome and reverse engineer it back to the starting point that we're at, so that the logistics can fall into place, because the mechanics of realizing that vision, none of them do the executables more often than not. Like super small businesses that are I'm good at concrete, I open a concrete company, that aside, but you know what I'm saying? Typically that is archetype chief executive or owner operator. That's archetype owner of a business, 100%. In almost all cases, you have to have somebody that's good at the logistics, the people, the process, the technology, the driving factors to get to vision state. But you live in an area of vision state. And if you didn't, you wouldn't disrupt the market. You would not have big picture vision. You would not entice the outcome to the people you're selling your product or service to. It just wouldn't work, right? So you need both, but they operate in very, very different ways. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so to me, I know what vision I want for this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know how to logistically get it to where I need it to go.
Yeah.
And so I need an Aaron or a you to do it.
Right.
And so I would love, they had the Hooked on Phonics, they had drawing on the right side of the brain for people who can't draw. They have these like kind of conceptual teaching curriculums for many different things.
Yeah.
I would love for something like that for the tech retarded like myself to have a drawing on the right side of the brain for technology.
I think it's worth noting as well. You were at my house, I don't know, 2 years ago or less. And it came to you suddenly. You're like, you never respond to my text messages. And I'm like,
yeah,
I send you one-sided conversations all the time and you don't respond to my text messages, which for me is very annoying because I have to, I need to know where you are steeped in. And that's often in Instagram or something because of your work, right? Like, so I have to get to you there, but I can't get to you on the phone. Anyone that knows you knows they can't get to you on the phone. So it's like, well, shoot, I could send you a text message. That's no problem. I was blocked, you don't know how, from your text message for years.
For years.
And because it took us both being in the same room, you're like, I don't know how any of this works. I'm like, now I hold that over your head like an asshole. Like, oh, I was blocked, right? Like, I'm just, I knew that probably was not your doing. It probably fingers touched stuff as it went into the pocket of the phone some 5 years 100%. Ago or some shit. But I have pages of like, 18 months ago, I sent you this. 12 months ago, I sent you this. No response, no response, no response.
Yeah.
And it's because I was blocked somehow. So like, I think it's fair noting that like, what he's saying is kind of true. Like, he's not real good at technology stuff. Like,
no, yeah. And it's just that way for me all the time.
Yeah.
And also I think it's more than just kind of the mental blockage. I honestly think there's an electromagnetic thing with me because technology acts weird or breaks around me. Like, I can't wear a watch because the battery will die within a matter of days. Anytime anybody's bought me a watch, and it was the thing when I was a kid, I had to sit in the orange chair of the cabin growing up because I was the only person who could sit there so that we would get channel 2 so we could watch football for my stepdad.
Yeah.
So I would have to sit there and draw or read comic books while I was sitting in that chair because if he wanted to watch football, that's where my butt had to be. None of the other kids, just me. And so also all technology. I've never been able to wear a watch. I really would love to, but it's kind of pointless. Like,
have you ever had a full body X-ray or a full body? I don't know what the acronym is.
I just recently had a full like MRI. Like,
is that the one where they put dye in you and look at through the soft tissue pieces too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they find some sort of kryptonite?
I don't think they were looking for anything like that. They were checking my heart at the time because I was having weird heart things. So, and this was like last year. And so, by the way, my heart is fine. Everything turned out okay. But that being said, like, it's always been a thing where stuff goes on the fritz around me. Light bulbs don't last as long. All sorts of different types of electromagnetic kind of problems, which is hilarious considering the line of work I'm in. And I use, either battery operated or machine,
electrically driven machinery all day.
Right. Yeah. All day long. So, but it seems to affect a lot of like technology stuff or particular radio waves or anything that's going to be close to my skin or anything like that. I don't know. It's just very, very strange. But I think that it's just I'm not supposed to be around it. Like, I have kind of a primitive outlook on life, but I also have a primitive like upbringing. I had a primitive, like, I'm comfortable in the primitive, and so the interest to be technologically adept, or at least can figure my way out, through it like a regular person my age. I don't even have like an interest in it, and I recognize that that's part of the problem.
It's funny you mentioned that. That's what I was going to point out, was like you also have to have a driving interest in the things that you'd like to unpack or learn how they work. For me, that's always been, cars, motorcycles, trucks, machinery, pieces, stuff like that, because it represents more than just a functional way to get from place A to place B. Whereas you would see a car and know the foundations, right? Like this needs oil, this needs fuel, and I know how to change a tire if I blow one on the side of the road, because these are kind of table stakes to operate this thing. But beyond that, it's never been a wow factor to you. It's always just been a whatever.
Well, I think it's a catch-22, because I think that part of it is the fact that I know that I don't know it, and it frustrates me.
Yeah.
So that kind of dilutes the interest, where I'm just like, nah, that's not, like, I know that is an area that I don't know very much about, and that will ultimately put me in a state of frustration. So I kind of just avoid it. And it's not that I don't like cars or I don't like computers or I don't like stuff, but I know that.
Oh, hey, chat says real quick. William 8300 in chat says, I got that weird thing too. If I wear a quartz watch, it will lose time within a week. I've chalked it up to having a lot of iron or something in my blood, which screws with the magnets in a watch. Probably due to eating tons of beef. I mean, it's a thesis.
Yeah.
But you're the only other person I've known in my life that has that thing where it's not like bad luck where things fall down and break, like stuff just ceases to function, like wristwatches or small electronics and things like that. Greetings. Thank you for chatting and hanging out with us too. That's huge. Thanks.
But yeah, so one of those things, and it's not that I don't have interest in it. It's that I think that the interest is going to be met with frustration. But I also recognize that I need to do some of these things in order to just function in my business and in just regular life. There are going to be aspects that now technology is so completely integrated with our day-to-day functioning that if I look at myself as like being kind of primitive and comfortable in that primitive nature, but I also look at guys who I like, some of the dudes I work with who like don't even have a bank account. They don't have a driver's license. They don't barely know how to function outside of just kind of what you would in 1970, at the very latest. But even then, like the bank account is something that even they had back then. But anything that has anything to do with a ATM card is like a foreign idea for them. So, and there's still guys who are still kind of functioning like that. And I feel like in the middle, like I'm kind of closer to them, but not. But I recognize that I need to be closer to you guys.
That adage of like, I know enough to be dangerous, but don't leave me alone with this stuff.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So
I don't know. I think it's because everybody, every tech professional particularly, but everybody that's tech savvy always has a relative relational point to somebody else in their position when it comes to their parents. Right? There's always let's teach your mom or your dad or your grandma or grandpa how to put something into the recycle bin on their desktop over the phone. Like, this is nightmare fuel for a lot of people in technology that grew up with this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I can see that. I can also see that there's a necessity to it. My job is to be aware of this stuff. Like, it's part of my job is to be plugged into a lot of the things, which can be exhausting because it drives you away from interests and key points in your life that are exciting or shit you'd rather be doing and stuff. So for some things, it's a slog. But I also recognize, at least relating to my job, I don't have to know everything about everything at all times. I have to know enough about what I'm responsible for and how it interacts with an ecosystem. And I have to be a subject matter expert on a few things, but not the entire ocean. You know what I mean? Like, that's asking a lot. But I think a lot of it has to do with interest. I think the left brain, right brain thing makes a ton of sense because, a lot of the technology pieces are very mechanical in nature. even if it's in service of a vision or, you know, an idea or a concept that's coming from someone else. I mean, that is kind of the textbook definition of working for, you know, a corporation, for example. Like, we're kind of at the whims of the decisions of upstairs kind of deal. So yeah, I think that's a pretty keen observation, but it doesn't mean we can't connect those dots. So if there is something you want to learn about, and I do know how to do it, like, I'll put together a how-to class for you, because I don't know, it's all just Legos to me.
I just don't want to bother my wife with it anymore, because she's over it. She's done. Yeah. But the other thing is, like, I kind of feel like in all of its different facets, technology is kind of like there's a base language that they're all different dialects of, and you can learn different dialects. Like if it's like an African language, but there's like slight differences in regional dialects, right? And I don't even know the base language kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I moved my family to Technotopia, and my children were born in Technotopia. Yep. And they grew up like already knowing this bilingual language of technology. And I think all kids are like that. I think all kids,
you know what my observation is on that, particularly to drive a deeper point, like a layer down from that, closer to the point you're making. My generation specifically is responsible for concept and delivery of a lot of modern day technology, yours and mine, really, from internet forward to present day. And we're, you know, reaching the middle point of our career lifespan, right? And the generation behind us was born into this, to your point. What I've noticed they're very, very good at, not so much understanding how to build these things or make them work in different ways the way that we can or did, is they're awesome at multitasking in a way that I can't fathom. I cannot listen to music, to a song that I love, while writing a report and watching a television screen and chatting to my friends on a different screen. Like, I have to omit 4 of those distractions to focus on one task. I can't, and they're insane at that. Like, just the amount of information that can be processed and in a moment's notice because of social media and cell phone and television and internet and task at hand and this and that. And like, to me, that's what drives me bananas. So like, my eyes cross, blood comes out of my nose. I'm like, shut it off. Like, I have to focus on specific thing. I think they're fucking awesome at that in a way that I've never seen before. Yeah.
Something that's super weird, and I've talked to my wife about this and other people. Yeah, that's how I learn. I can't learn unless I'm pulling in saturated information. Like, and what it does is it connects it, and it can't be of the same topic. I can't be watching a sci-fi show while reading a sci-fi thing and drawing a sci-fi thing and doing it. Like, it has to be like
the ingredients will mix.
Right. Yeah. Like, I've got something, I'm reading something sci-fi, but then I'm got a political podcast on
and a cooking show over here. And
right. And all what it does is it connects all those things together for me, and like makes it so that it has an anchor in my brain, if I'm describing this right, where I now know all of this stuff because it's anchored to this political thing, or it's anchored to it because I connected it to this sci-fi movie I was watching at the time of reading this thing and having it going on in the background. It's the best way that I actually process information and actually store it. And it's that's so weird. But that's how I've always learned, when I've got either music playing, a TV show with subtitles going, and I'm reading about something in history, and I will remember the history. And especially if I hear that song or if I see that movie ever again, it will automatically recall everything that I read in that history book.
See, to me, and so I'm the dark side of that entirely. When I was writing that vampire campaign for us to play through, almost all of the big picture aspects of that story had been in my head for a long time. But the amount of specificity required to deliver nuance into that tale required a ton of NPCs, some of which subconsciously came out named after characters from movies that I'd watched. some of the dialogue I'd written down as big charter points in your story were song lyrics because I was listening to certain music when I was actually driving like focus to that area, and I had to shut it off. But like I went back and looked through some of those chapter pieces and I was like, oh my God, that's a song lyric from like a song I was listening to. Like, this is absurd. The bleed over, it is so distracting to me that I actually just like refocus on whatever. Like I'll stop writing and start singing, or I'll pick up a guitar. So I have to shut that shit off, dude.
It's fascinating to me, the difference of how people process information and how they learn. And that's one of the things that I just find psychologically absolutely fascinating, is the fact that our processors that God blessed us with literally pull in information in different ways and store it in different ways, and it's what creates the uniqueness of every individual. And I don't know, I find it fascinating, but I don't count myself as unblessed because I'm so blessed in so many other ways. But it is something that I know on a functionality of life level that I need to really learn to do better. And it's something that I'm going to continue to pursue to do better, because I don't draw on paper anymore. I draw on a tablet. I don't process any of my work stuff outside of this phone. My conversations with you are through a medium that I don't do. I just click a button and you show up. You handle all of how this gets broadcasted and all that. And I don't have a clue as to how any of that happens. I'm like, he knows, he'll do it. He's good at it. And my wife gets it. My wife goes, oh yeah, he's doing this and this and this and this. And my son does it. Oh yeah, no, I hear, and does all the stuff for me. And I just sit down in a chair and press the buttons that I remember to press. And that's as far as like my brain allows.
You got the sticky notes of like, when you see this screen, hit this button. Like it has to go through a sequence. So,
and I feel super boomery about it, but like at the same time,
and in your defense though, so much stuff changes too, as like navigating a new operating system for the first time often provides discomfort. Like Windows 11. Now, maybe that's a bad example because it's kind of reskinned Windows 10 with some other features, but a lot of that stuff when it's brand new is just a bitch to get through, because you're like, dude, I gotta go back in time and fix, because all the stuff's the way you had it every time. It stayed that way, like a phone, and now you've got not one but all of the options are brand new, and you got to rebuild all of what you had from memory, which inevitably settings you had on your own phone are now different on this new phone, and you're not going to remember how to change them. So you'll have to adapt a little bit here and there with some stuff, but it's interesting observation for sure.
Well, I was going to say we should talk about flock cameras, but I don't really want to.
No, I think we should dedicate time to that on another show. I will say part of your lecture to your son should have included, if you were going to cut something down, go cut a flock camera down, get it and get away from these. Let's move into, what do you want to do? Conspiracy Corner?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. It's been a while since we put on the tinfoil. So for those of you that are just joining us, during this segment, when we're wearing our tinfoil hats, we're exploring Conspiracy Corner, and all personal and professional credibility is out the window. We're in a different dimension. None of it counts. Let's get into Conspiracy Corner.
Conspiracy Corner this week. So I haven't been in a while. But there was a time frame that I spent a lot of time in Portland. For tattoo stuff. And then in my earlier days before marriage, had not frequented, but was not a stranger to the occasional strip club. And I don't think I ever got in trouble for it. I don't ever think I got in, but I've heard many a tale of many a man who got in trouble because of the residuals.
Yeah.
Outside of potential bad perfume odors and those type of things, but there's always the telltale tattletale of when men have frequented strip clubs, and it is glitter. Glitter. Those strippers love putting glitter all over them, and it's always the tattletale, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the joke of
hard to argue your way out of that when you're like, no, I was at the craft store and I fell over in aisle 3.
Right.
How many times this month?
Outside of that, the uses of glitter in the regular life world is typically Joann's Fabrics moms and kindergarten classes and
annoying Hallmark cards.
Yeah, and pranks, stuff like that. But glitter is known to be something that once you get it on something, it's nearly impossible to get off of you, and that it really doesn't have a whole lot of practical uses outside of making things fake, shimmery, and shiny, from everything from popsicle sticks to fake breasts. So, but outside of that, there really isn't a whole lot of functionality to glitter. Except that there is.
Yeah.
And except that there is a conspiracy around glitter that not a lot of people thought about until fairly recently, because no one put any thought towards glitter. But apparently, there is an internet mystery surrounding the identity of the largest purchasers of glitter, which major manufacturers like GlitterX and Meadowbrook Inventions, which are those are the 2 places that make glitter in the world. There's no other places that make glitter, and you have to get it from those 2 places, and they are within a couple of miles of each other.
Yeah.
And they refuse to disclose who their major purchasers are, and they're huge. The secrecy originated from a 2018 New York Times interview where a company representative stated the top client doesn't want anyone to know that it's glitter because the material would be unrecognizable in their final product.
Well, and so here's a quick aside on some of those uses, which leads into your headline. Because glitter manufacturers are essentially precision cutting firms, these tiny multi-layered particles serve critical roles across heavy industry, security, defense, and science. Examples: automotive car finishes, fiberglass gels, floor and wall coatings, but radar scattering chaff, rocket fuel additives, because microscopic high purity aluminum flakes are sometimes used in aerospace engineering, anti-counterfeiting inks, which I didn't realize that'd be a perfect use of those, microscopically cut optically variable glitter particles for counterfeit breaking, and forensic contact evidence. Because of its unique cuts and stubborn persistence, forensic scientists treat loose glitter as perfect tracing evidence. Locating matching microshapes on a suspect can physically tie them directly to a victim or a crime scene.
Yeah, they can match glitter particles to even the factory that they're made and the batch that they were made from. So they know exactly where those things went to because of the cuts on them. It's pretty wild. So there's a couple of theories, basically, that the boat paint on large vessels without mismatching. There's military and defense speculation that the glitter is used in stealth technology, radar detecting coatings, and obviously, like the before mentioned, rocket fuel propellants. But there's also a lot of people who think that glitter is used in weather manipulation or satellite stuff, that the weather manipulation that's been causing all sorts of different things bouncing off, or that they're using it to bounce stuff off the ionosphere because they need a substance that's undetectable but is reflective. And so that basically HARP uses glitter clusters sent out by high altitude aircraft that is what it uses to bounce off and make things happen in precarious ways across the globe, whether it be tornadoes, storms, earthquakes, or whatever, that this is the material that they're using for those causes.
Wow.
There's also speculation that glitter is being used in other technology forms that will be, it leads into Project Bluebeam. Mm-hmm. So basically, when they start doing holographic images in the skies, that they need something for it to hit. And therefore, glitter is the thing that they're going to be dispersing in order to create these giant hallucinogenic, basically holographic images that a lot of the conspiracy theorists are worried are going to be the alien, you know, when they start projecting aliens or UFOs in the air and all of those things, that this is the technology that they're using with Project Bluebeam, and that glitter is the substance that they're going to be bouncing those images off of in order to create, like, it's the same thing like when they do it on stage, they with the Michael Jackson stuff, where they actually have to have a light mist in order for you to see those holographic images. There needs to be something for it to actually be hitting. And so and it can be, depending on the laser quality, can be as minuscule as dust in the air in certain capacities, but those are far higher quality than the Michael Jackson crews are using. But there's a lot of that technology that's out, that they're in speculation that those are the major theories that these glitter companies are selling to their biggest buyers.
Well, because there aren't that many, right?
There's only two in the world.
Two glitter manufacturers. And also kind of a fun video rabbit hole to try and tumble down if you haven't and you're listening or watching is trying to see people attempting to get tours of the facility to see how it's made and stuff, and they just will not allow that. Pretty wild stuff. I mean,
nobody knows how it's made. That's the thing, is that like they won't even disclose. Like, when we leave the house, we put on TV for our Jack Russell terrorists to drown out outside noise so they don't bark like they're doing right now. But we'll always leave on a TV show. So they went through like 10 seasons of Bob Ross. So I'm hoping that I'll produce a painting out of these two little mutts here pretty soon. But the next thing that we put on was the next thing that we put on was How It's Made, right? That show that shows you all of the cool things of everything from a harp to nails to jelly donuts and everything in between. They literally go through the process of how they're manufactured, what materials they use, and never once has glitter ever been a part of that show in its 15, 16 seasons. And so you would think that something as simple as glitter, something as widely used in craft stores and strip clubs and stuff across the
Who's protecting big glitter? We're getting to the heart of it right here on Conspiracy Corner.
It's literally called Glittergate is the conspiracy. But yeah, big glitter is
it also sounds like a Mariah Carey record. I'm just going to point that out.
Yeah. So Glittergate, big glitter. We need to look more into this.
I mean, what do you think? Do you think that's how they're going to, especially with the projection stuff and all the sort of like farther reaching, do you think that's in the realm of plausibility? That's likely what they're going to use. I mean, I would hate to have that shit pumped into the air, because I'm sure that's a breathing hazard. But
if you've got something like that out in kind of a consistent atmosphere kind of thing, think about what it would do to the technology of basically being able to create a grid within that, a laser grid within that, and for drones.
Yeah, drone projections is how I would imagine they would do that. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And so, but even just drone navigation on a high scale level, you'd be able to use it as a like precision pinpoint kind of concept outside of just satellites basically tracking your drones. You'd actually be able to do it second by second. Like it would be a perfect way to be able to do high-tech drone warfare, high-tech, there's all sorts of different applications on a military level and on a military intelligence level and conspiratorial level. There's so many applications that once you think about what it's made of this reflective material that is basically almost light as air and will stick to stuff and but also just float around and in particles, and weather manipulation and all sorts of different things. My guess is that, and I'm on board with the idea of it being kind of used for Project Bluebeam. I'm on board for it being used for military purposes. I think that they wouldn't be so secretive if it was anything else.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what drives me deeper down the rabbit hole is the second you can't explain why and how, my eyebrow gets raised and I'm like, well, how come it's glitter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, yeah, that's something that caught my attention in the last couple of weeks. And there's videos on it. You can go down the YouTube rabbit trails. There's a whole bunch of people doing stuff on TikTok about it. But yeah, it's an interesting problem that is silly. It's a silly problem, but the worrying part about it is that because it's so silly, we don't actually know the nefarious possibilities that this stuff could actually have implications for.
All application possibilities, even if it's in the realm of nefarious or not, would be nice to know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Huh.
So I say that people do a raid, like an Area 51 raid on the glitter buildings and see what we can find out. So
because that really worked out when they mobilized to take on Area 51 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Or like five dudes showed up and they were just laughing with the gate guards that were heavily armed and expecting them because it was all over social media and news stations and they all just ended up talking and laughing and then being promptly sent away at the gate and nothing ever happened.
Yeah. Yep. So
Glitter Gate.
Outside Glitter Gate. So well, that's it for Conspiracy Corner. I just thought we'd do kind of a fun one this week and not get too dark about it.
Dude.
Oh.
I need better technology for that tinfoil hat.
Yeah. I know
it is hot.
Yeah, you have it worse than we do. It's in the 90s here, but like my air conditioning went out like a couple weeks ago.
Man.
And so it's been kind of warm in my house. So, but yeah, let's do the dope.
Let's do the dope. Let's move into the dope.
Okay. First, let's do yours because you showed me something that was so near and dear to my heart because I had just seen it and showed it to my family and said, we need to teach Arthur what is going on in these videos. And so you found something that just, I absolutely adore it.
It's the proper application of artificial intelligence. The Instagram account is called Skate on Dogs, and it is a guy that runs around skateboarding and doing tricks over stuff, except he's not on a skateboard, he's on a little wiener dog. And it does the typical skate video stuff of like the run up and real speed at 60 frames per second, and then it slows way, way, way down like it was shot at 120 and then dropped to like 25%. And the AI has the little dog flipping around with the ears like kind of flopping and his little tail going and stuff, and then he lands on the back of the dog. He's not actually riding a dog. Nobody gets hurt. He lands the trick every time. And it's absolutely berserk. There is no point to any of this. It stands anathema to productivity at all times in every case.
Yeah.
And it is awesome. It's so good.
So much.
And that's all he does is just little skate
I can watch
clips.
one after the other of this because
they're amazing.
If you didn't know it was AI and you didn't know physics of a dog.
Yeah. If you showed a caveman to this, they would try to skate their dog when they got back to the cave.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's so well done and edited just perfectly because you know that he's doing this on a skateboard, but they manufacture his real dog. Like this is a real dog, but somehow
his thumbnail is like him holding this little wiener dog that he uses in all of his videos and stuff. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. But they somehow managed to like replicate what the skateboard is doing. So if he's doing, a 360 kick flip off of something, the dog does the motion of the skateboard and then he lands perfectly. And the dog's just happy and running along with its ears flopping, but he does all the twists and turns that the skateboard would do in motion. And it's flawless, but it's like flawless joy. And it's so
one of those
fun
things
to watch.
where like, I let the algorithm run because I think I was boiling noodles. I know I was cooking in the kitchen and I had the phone propped up over here, and it's usually 2.5 minute sound bites of stuff. And then I hear what sounds like a skateboard coming up, and I'm like, and I look over and it's this dude riding a dog, and I'm like, what? And he like nollie magic flips over a Jersey barrier, this little wiener dog, and I was like, oh my god. So I watched it 100 times, like noodles or pots burning. I'm just like, watch it again. It was pretty funny. So Skate on Dogs was mine. Apparently that's all that channel's all about. There's several dozen of these videos and they're all chef's kiss. So
that's what the dope's about, though. Yeah. That is just finding those little pockets
just
in the
internet that
isn't doom and gloom, that doesn't take any brain capacity, that just makes you smile during the day. So my dope of the week is a gentleman of fine spirits and of a quality gentleman. And he goes by the name of Troy Hawke, Hawke. And Troy Hawke is a distinguished British man who walks around in a purple smoking jacket and a pencil mustache and a slick back hair and a very posh attitude, but he is all compliments. He will walk down the street of Baltimore. He will walk down the streets of LA, of London, wherever he's at, and he will walk with a dignified style with his hands behind his back and pay passersby, total strangers, unique compliments about who they are or how they look, and they are of the most dignified, posh stature of compliments. And he stops these people and ends up talking to them, and then he will ask them their name, and he'll go, "You're a solid 7," and they're like, "What?" He goes, "In Scrabble," and he has this perfect mind that understands Scrabble so well that he understands what everybody's word number is for their names, and so then he'll give them their Scrabble number as he walks away. But sometimes he'll park himself out in front of a grocery store or like a clothing store or a market of some kind, and he'll compliment everybody as they walk into the store and then tell them, like try to get them to upsell or buy stuff. He goes, or let them know about sales going on. And he's not hired by the company. And security or a manager always comes out and goes, "You can't do that here." He goes, "Oh, no. It's okay. I talked to management." And they go, "I'm management." They're like, no, upper management. And who sent you? Jan Mobley. I'm part of the, he is the self-described, Troy Hawke is the self-described president of the Greeters Guild. He's a Scrabble-based investigator and president of the Greeters Guild. And he's a comedian. And but his whole shtick is being somebody who goes around and spreads positivity, spreads humor and compliments to the average person. He's got YouTube channel. He's got tours all over the place. He's on every Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and he whenever questioned about who sent him from the Greeters Guild, he goes, my mentor and the leader of the organization, he goes by Jan Molby, and they go, oh, okay. And Jan Molby is actually a real man. He is a football player from, like, a soccer player from like Sweden or something like that, or Finland. And he's like a Finnish soccer player known for being kind of rowdy, but then also being a big personality. And a lot of soccer people know him, but not very many other people do. And so he kind of gets away with it. Like, people go, okay, well, we'll check up with, corporate and find out, like, but you're fine here. You're not. No, I'm helping. And they'll see, as he's talking to them, people walk by and he'll help them and compliment them. And they'll, like, thank him and go, well, thank you. That was very nice. And then he'll walk in, and it's hilarious. It's just so much fun to watch, because the guy is so he's a wordsmith, but he's got such a kind of British posh vocabulary that oftentimes he has to explain the compliment that he's saying to these people.
Sure.
And then, because at first they're like, what did you say to me?
And nobody's used to that.
Right. And so, and then he'll stop and just but he's a tall man with a lot of stature to him. So although he's in a purple coat, people really don't know what to make of him. And so at first they think he might be crazy. And then they realize that no, he's not crazy. He's just doing a thing. And I like the thing he's doing. And so he ends up making a lot of friends on the street, and I really enjoy his videos, because he's somebody who has made his comedy career not about standing on stage and just kind of making jokes and stuff, that he takes it out to the public, but it's more about kind of spreading joy, positivity, and humor in this shtick that he's pulled together, that's also kind of trolling at the same time. And so it's pretty ingenious. I really enjoy his content. His Instagram is really fun. If you're not following his Instagram, I highly recommend it. His interactions with people are absolutely brilliant. And so if you want to just kind of watch somebody who, in a hilarious way, spread positivity from town to town, I highly recommend following Troy Hawk.
Awesome.
So, but yeah,
I dig it.
Yeah, so that's the dope for the week.
Nice.
But yeah, movies. You've seen some movies.
I did. Let's start. Yeah. Let's go in backwards order. Follow up with us on you not falling asleep through the first 10 minutes of the Hail Mary Project. What did you think afterwards?
Okay. So I finally got a chance to sit down and actually watch that.
Yeah.
And I could not have been more engaged this time. Like, it was without a doubt had me captivated from beginning to end. And it definitely had that same pace and punch and feel like The Martian did. Yeah. And for those who don't know, Project Hail Mary was actually written by the same guy who wrote The Martian. It might have been directed by the same people, but I don't know. But definitely written by the same guy.
The Martian was done by who's the guy that's in charge of the Alien franchise, the first one that came out?
Oh, Ridley
Scott.
No, Ridley Scott.
Yep. So Martian was directed by Ridley Scott. So this is a different set of directors, but the architecture is very similar. Yep.
Yeah. Man, you weren't wrong. Fun.
Yeah.
Fun encapsulated in a movie that wasn't it wasn't arrogant. It wasn't pretentious, trying to be over sciencey, but gave you enough that you felt as if it made sense in the context of science.
And there's a line in that movie that Ryan Gosling's character delivers that he's like doing a video journal essentially, and he's like, so I met an alien and he's kind of growing on me. He's not growing in me, which was kind of a concern for a second there. Like, I thought this movie was going to be something totally different. When the ship arrives, you're like, oh man, like that's going to get scary and I don't like scary stuff and whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it was like a complete departure from expectations, and I had nothing going in. I just thought, oh, well, here's the trope I've seen play out before. And it was like, really not. It was just a good human story driven about friendship and overcoming incredible odds, and for purposes that he didn't realize going in. He didn't have anyone to be brave for. He found someone. Like, there's a lot of tiebacks and stuff that make it just a really wholesome environment, but it was really well done. Yeah. Really well done. So
completely devoid of wokeism, so you don't get bogged down by that. But it also, time frame wise, it takes you through a long period of time where you would think there's a different writer would have caught you up in kind of the minutia of figuring stuff out, which they led you through at a very particular pace, where you get to be a part of him doing the problem solving, but not stuck in the minutia. He goes, okay, see, he figured this out, let's move on. See, he figures this out, let's move on. And so brilliant writing, brilliant editing, brilliant pacing to make a movie that really wasn't about the pacing. It was about the interactions, and they knew that. They were smart about how they edited this movie, how they paced it, in order so that you didn't lose the bigger concept of the fact that this movie was about friendship, about finding yourself, about finding something to be responsible for, and a lot of other kind of overarching themes that would have been lost had they allowed themselves to get too much into the minutia. But they allowed you to go along the adventure with them.
A very big piece they intentionally don't describe, which I took exception with, because the plot line says from where we're at to where you need to go is 11.9 years. The part where he's in the ship doing math, not knowing who he is or how he gets there, points to 118 something years. And the flight home, not to spoil too much, is 4 years, 6 months, and 8 days or 11 days or some shit. And they never get to that. And all three of those time periods are wildly different from one another. And I think it's up to us to decide that time dilation plays a factor in how fast they're moving toward or away from Earth, and modern clock keeping for all the scientific reasons, I guess, because they just don't address it in the movie, and it is based off a book that I have not read, so perhaps they do in the book. So but yeah, that was one piece that they didn't untangle the wires on and ever address it, and I was like, well, that's odd. But I got to thinking about it, I'm like, maybe they just want us to figure it out, and it's completely irrelevant. It's just something in the back of my head. It matters not to the story or the point they're making, but I thought that was kind of clever too, in a weird way.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, absolutely enjoyed it from beginning to end, and it was everything you told me it would be and more. So I would absolutely give this probably 9 megs. The rewatchability, you could watch this thing over and over and over again, probably pick up new stuff, new subtle things, because it's dialogue wise, it's like certain parts are pretty fast paced, and there's a lot of little things that are in there that you could probably pick up new stuff. But even just kind of re-engaging with all the familiar stuff, it was fun, it was heartfelt.
It does a special thing that not very many movies do, where you can see the perspective of the protagonist and the antagonist, or the gal that's kind of propped up to be that's a driving plot factor as you go through some of the flashbacks. But it's a rare point in a rare movie that you kind of root for every single character in the film from all angles. Like, you understand why she's doing this and what's at stake. You understand his plight, and you're really rooting for him to get through all of the obstacles he needs to get through to drive the plot line. And then all the people or the things that he encounters, you're really rooting for them too, because it's you go through the descriptions of each of these plot points from all the perspectives, and you kind of can't find a bad guy to wag a finger at. You're like just kind of stoked on everyone's mission, and that doesn't happen in modern movies very often at all. So I was really tickled at that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. The antagonist is actually just the problem.
Yeah,
it is the problem to solve.
Yeah,
and that's essentially, and courage, and finding the courage to do what they needed to do in order to get what they need to get done on everybody's part. Everybody had to kind of pull the trigger on being more than they were before, and that was great movie. 9 megs, and totally rewatchable, and probably will purchase that one. So, but yeah.
Nice. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go for Bonhoeffer, or do you want to do the Odyssey?
Yeah, let's do Bonhoeffer. Let me get this one out of the way. So Bonhoeffer was made by Angel Studios, which has started to really pump out a lot of stuff after they got their first push with what's the Jesus TV show?
Oh, was it? How old are they? Were they like Touched by an Angel old in the 90s and 2000s, or is it newer than that?
They started with that new Jesus show, the I forget, the Forgiven or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And they started there, and then they started making movies, and they made the movie about the human trafficking that was actually really good.
Yeah,
with Jim Caviezel.
That was the Jim Caviezel one. Yeah.
Yeah, and but they've really started expanding and doing a lot of kids movies, but then also a lot of historical stuff. And this particular movie, Bonhoeffer, was actually based on a book written by what was the guy's name? He's actually been to our church, Eric Metaxas. So Eric Metaxas wrote this book, and they did a film adaptation off of it. And the film adaptation is obviously set in World War II. And Bonhoeffer was a pastor from Germany. And he was very influential in Germany with the pastors who pushed against the Third Reich. There was a lot of pastors in Germany who suffered greatly when they would not go along with what Hitler was doing at the time. And it was mainly Protestant pastors. A lot of the Catholic priests went with it. But some of them joined the Protestants and pushed against it. We're like, this is not what the Bible's about. This is not what God's about. So, but he early on, like during the very beginning stages of Hitler's rise in the 20s, he actually went to the United States on to go to school and to go to seminary in the United States. And when he was young, and fell in love with jazz music and became a jazz pianist while he was there. Met some African-American pastor who taught him a lot about not just being a part of the faith because of tradition, but actually making it so much a part of your life, and really kind of got him in touch with his faith more than just kind of a ritual, right? And he then came back to Germany and saw what was going on, and his family was not okay with it. His dad, his brother, his mom, mom and sister were. Mom was kind of scared of pushing buttons. Dad was had warned about it and was like, see, I told you this was going to happen. He goes, how did it happen? When I left, he wasn't even popular enough to win anything. And now he's running, he's going to be chancellor, and they're he went district by district and won district by district, which is something that we kind of as a group learned, with working, the Groypers, that was their plan too, was to go district by district and actually try to take over in the same fashion, which is where they learned it from. So now what ends up happening is Bonhoeffer comes back and starts stirring the pot more and starts being more brave and standing up against it more and more. But then he gets pulled into a plot where he does some funding and some other stuff to actually help assassinate Hitler. And he struggles with his faith over it, of whether or not somebody who is a man of God should be even orchestrating the death of another man, period. And so it's kind of his personal struggle of that, but it's called Bonhoeffer Pastor Spy Assassin. And so they end up kind of orchestrating a plan to kind of, they know where he's going to be through different channels, and they were going to do blow him up basically with some dynamite. And the plot fails, and he gets, ultimately, he had moved back to America for a while, and because he needed to stand up and help his people, he came back knowing full well what was probably going to happen to him when he came back to the United States. So he came back to came back to Germany, and sure enough, he gets arrested, and ultimately he, although he set up an escape plan for a bunch of Jews to get out and to get over into Switzerland. Him and his brother had a system of getting a bunch of people out. He ended up getting caught, and then put on a truck with a bunch of other dissidents, and then publicly hung. And it's basically his story. It should be an epic tale, much like, Valkyrie, or what was the one that I watched a little while ago that I did about the trials, Nuremberg. You know, there should have been that type of gravity, intensity, and ultimately like keeping you enthralled and engaged. And this one didn't do that. And we had been recommended by a lot of people because our church had like rented out the movie theater when this was at the movie theater to go show it. And, everybody, they rented out the theater for a while so the whole church could go see it. We didn't happen to make it because we had other things going on. But like a lot of our friends told us, hey, you really need to watch this. It's really good. And it really sets the tone for a lot of ththings that we're currently dealing with.
Your family was busy pulling out all the stops.
Yeah. And
sorry.
I guess they are right to a degree. There were some things, but there was nothing that I really learned from this movie. But really, it boiled down to the fact that the low production quality, the writing, the pacing, the fact that they really focused on things that they didn't need to, and didn't focus enough on the things that they should have. It really was off tempo. The whole thing was off tempo. They kind of weighed too much and spent too much time drawing out certain scenes that really weren't integral to the story, when they could have focused more in other areas and kind of explained certain things more.
Do you think that was a creative direction, or do you think whoever edited that just hacked up all the parts they should not have, and it hit the cutting room floor when they kept all the wrong stuff? You know what I mean? Where the gravitas isn't in the right moment, but do you think there was more to it, or they just kind of cobbled this thing together and sent it out there?
I don't know, because I never read the book. No,
it's based on a book too.
I think my wife read the book. Yeah. So, and it could be that. It could be that the editing process just did a hack job on this, or that this was kind of the ultimate, or the end result of what the director was looking for, right? Yeah. I don't know which is which, but I mean, like even some of the reviews is like slow and hard to follow. It felt like a Hallmark movie. It didn't feel like it had the gravity of a big published or publication movie. It didn't have any of that gravity to it. It did feel Hallmarky. And it did not do Bonhoeffer justice. There's a bunch of other of these reviews that I would agree with. And I think that given the historical gravity of this particular historical figure who had a massive impact on Germany and on Christians and on and he was a prolific writer. He wrote like a couple of dozen books on theology and other political stuff. And so he was a huge historical figure that I don't think this movie really actually gave enough to.
It's just a big swing and a miss on a lot of fronts.
Yeah, and Aaron and I kind of felt bad because Aaron was kind of falling asleep. It was so slow, and just didn't have the pull that a lot of those World War II epics have. And we didn't need action, but we needed something to draw us in, and it just didn't have it. And so we kind of felt bad. We haven't really told all the people that told us to sit down and watch this. We haven't told them yet, and that we're like, it was all right.
What did you think? Amaze.
Yeah. So if I was to give this a rating, I would say just read the book.
Yeah.
The movie, the acting is super weird. It's very like you could tell they were Broadway actors because they were over the top in a lot of things. And so yeah, probably 6.5 megs, probably tail end. Not really my cup of tea as far as period pieces of this nature. I needed more out of this, but I'd say read the book. You're not really going to get anything out of this movie, I don't think so. But anyway, Bonhoeffer, 6.5 megs, tail end. So
gotcha. Okay. Well, that brings us to the Odyssey.
Yeah, you went to the movie theaters.
I did.
Who'd you go see it with? Was it just by yourself?
Just me. I just snuck in there on a matinee. Where do I begin? Ellen Page looks terrible. She's let herself go a lot, by the way. We'll start there.
I saw a Babylon Bee that said that she retroactively won 15 Oscars for portraying the best one, for the best portrayal of a woman ever.
Yeah. No, that was the inspiration for that one-liner. Actually, I saw that too. Let's start here. The cast is incredible. Seeing John Leguizamo in a not campy part is great. The lead in this, the actor that plays Odysseus, is Matt Damon, was awesome. I liked Anne Hathaway in the role that she played. I didn't really care for Tom Holland in this role. He just he's a wonderful actor. Maybe because I think of Spider-Man when I think of him. I don't know. There was a lot I like the Twilight guy. He plays a really great bad guy, and he's kind of a smarmy dude. He did great. Chris Nolan was playing all the hits with the usual cast of characters, like a lot of people you've seen in roles in movies past from him quite a bit. Not too much of a departure. It is based on Homer's The Odyssey, which is probably one of, fables-wise, the oldest stories, from whence all stories come, right? Extraordinarily well shot. You could feel this was the big best picture push from Christopher Nolan. As a guy that dabbles in creating YouTube content, film content, on and on, knowing that it was all shot practically was even better, because there's very little to no special effects in this where they don't need to be, which was great. Massive set pieces. It's a spectacle. The entire thing was shot on IMAX cameras. If you're familiar with those machines, you can only get a couple minutes of footage on those. They're loud as shit. You have to go re-record dialogue over the top of them because the actors can't hear themselves speak. That's how loud the film stock races through these. So they did a lot of clever stuff to make it visually pretty spectacular. I was bored as shit. It's a 3-hour movie that is really, really hard to follow a single point through to conclusion, because we jump to the next part of the Odyssey, which has to be shown. And they did some neat stuff in certain places. The actors were very well cast. They did. Matt Damon did a killer job. I think I really like Chris Nolan as a director. I could not have been less enthused with the overall product of the film, even knowing the outcome. Like, this is one of the first books I actually read, consumed, was this story. I've been familiar with it since junior high, probably. Like, I think most of us have. All of the characters, you know, resonate with mythology and stuff. And it was just, I'd wait for it to come out.
Yeah.
And, you know, movies down here are cheap as shit. I didn't lose anything on it. It was a fun experience for $7. But at the end of the day, I just didn't care a whole lot about any one of the characters all that much. Some of the effects they did were pretty cool. Some of the characters were cooler than others. My least favorite part was, I forget the character and the actress's name. Who's the actress that she's South African actress that did Atomic Blonde?
Troy?
No, she did Atomic Blonde. She's
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron was kind of flatlining. Like, her line deliveries weren't super great. She's a super powerful part of this story.
She plays Calypso.
Calypso, right?
Calypso.
Because a lot of it takes place with her deception of Odysseus and him not understanding how long he's been eating lotuses on this island, and reflecting back on the journey that got him there before she kind of takes pity on the fact that, like, you know, you don't seem content here. I think I have to let you go. All the Greek mythological gods are spoken of or represented in some way or another. The fall of Troy was kind of whatever. I mean, it was a lot of tight shots with high details, so there was not a lot of grand scale to the whole thing. It just, I don't know, man. Like, it had all the ingredients that normally I would like to sit through and consume, and maybe it'll get better when I rewatch it at some point in the future, but it's a long movie, and there's not a lot of go juice in it. There's a lot of great Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 pieces, but the cohesion is kind of just wild. And, you know, for as groundbreaking as the score was, they wanted to do all new stuff with all original instruments and things that were not compositional instruments, like weird double flutes and actual lutes and actual 4-string harps and stuff like that. I hated it. I thought it was very, pulled you out of the movie. A lot of people were very high on the originality of that. You know, that composer does great work. I think he was challenged with impossible odds to formulate a composition and a score around this epic tale without using anything in his bag of tricks that he's been successful for. Having to go in a whole new route is very difficult for anybody. I can only imagine this was a mountain to climb, and hats off to him for the attempt. But as for the end product, I didn't care for it very much. There was just a lot of like, just kind of waiting for the next, like, when are we going to get to something that's going to tie all this stuff together besides Odysseus himself and what is going on in his mind and us bouncing all over his life and story and stuff. So for what it's worth, I think it was formulated to be a Best Picture nomination. Felt like it was shot in kind to make that a reality. It feels. And again, I have no quibbles with the actors and actresses picked, more or less. I have a couple quibbles here and there. I didn't really care for the Athena and the twin sister piece. I really didn't, or not Athena, Helena Troy. Athena was pretty good. That was played by Zendaya. That was pretty good. But you know, with Ellen Page and the whole 9 yards, it's just like, it was a lot of whatever stuff. John Leguizamo did great for his role. Wonderful. But other than that, man, I can't give it more than 5 megs flat, which sucks because practically speaking, the visuals were really great. Knowing they were shot practically is even incredible because they shot them in the actual weather that you're seeing and stuff like that. This could not have been an easy shoot for anybody involved at all. And I did not really care very much the whole time I was watching it. I wanted to care a lot more. So I give it 5 megs, man. I think it's worth waiting for. I'm sure everyone's going to throw tomatoes at my head for saying that because it's Chris Nolan and it's an epic adventure and it's the story to tell and it's got the best actors in it and whatever. But the ingredients were there. The product was just didn't sing to me the way I wanted it to, you know?
Yeah. And typically I'd be on the Chris Nolan train because I've liked most of his previous work up until Tenet. I didn't enjoy Tenet. I thought it was pretentious. I thought that it was the equivalent of a wine connoisseur movie. Like, oh, you didn't get it? Well,
nobody got it.
Like, yeah.
Even if they say they did
get it, you were. Yeah. So, but I didn't like Tenet, but I liked all of his other stuff.
I got to say about Tenet real quick, since you mentioned it, I don't think anyone could have done a better job trying to describe entropy to the degree in which they put that on cinematic medium. Hats off for the attempt. The visuals were fucking sweet in that movie and stuff, but I didn't understand. I've watched that movie 5 times now, like, and really tried to dissect it. And I get the Easter eggs and stuff. I still can't figure out how they correlate a lot. It was kudos for the attempt, brother. Nobody could have tried that the way you tried that. But it fell flat for me too. I'm like, I agree with you. It feels like a wine tasting.
Yep. Yeah. So, but as far as this movie goes, because of Tenet, I already was like, but then I started seeing, the obvious things with, like, them using Elliot Page or Ellen Page or whatever, in a Greek warrior role that made no sense. And they were just basically placating certain audiences by putting that in there. And I was kind of bummed that Chris Nolan kind of folded in that regard. And then also, like, even, Helen of Troy, I like that actress, Lupita Nyong'o or whatever. I like her. She's not Helen of Troy, though. Like, it's very specific in the book what Helen of Troy looked like, and it wasn't that, right? So, if you're going to make a historical epic, try to make a historical epic. Don't reinvent a historical epic.
My feeling on that is that he drove it away from that being a point of contention into this is a background character, back to Odysseus, is kind of how they... So I think it was more sprinkling of, like, placation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But to your point, I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
But at the same time, like, everyone's like, well, none of these people are Greek. I'm just like, yeah, but you could pass off as Greek, that's one of those things. So, but anyway.
I mean, I think Anne Hathaway could have and did pass off as Greek pretty well.
Right. And at that point in time in Greece, a lot of people were blonde hair, blue eyed. So it's not...
To that point, nobody had, like, makeup on to be like the pretty maiden and all. They were very, there was makeup and effects in the movie, but, like, for what it's worth, everyone looked like they did when they climb out of bed in the morning and start their day. So hats off for the practicality there. Yeah.
Yeah, and besides just the casting issues, which I might have been able to overlook, but then I started seeing, like, these, old lady professors who were like, I watched the movie and he changed so much of the plot, including the ending, that, like, it wasn't even really the same story. And then a lot of people who were talking about, like, as cool as, like, the soldiers looked, that a lot of it did not come off as, like, Greek warriors. Like, their armor and stuff was, so a lot of the costuming was kind of off too. But I was going to wait anyway, because I was just kind of like, I'm going to wait because of my hesitation with Christopher Nolan's most recent work, but also just because I want, if this isn't good, my son is such a history or, a mythology buff, like, he's going to pick this thing apart. And so I'm kind of curious as to, like, I'm going to watch it with him at home, so we're not having my 17-year-old screaming at a movie screen. So I'll wait until it's here. And
we don't need him throwing stop signs around on this. Do it at home.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to wait on it. I did have my reservations, and I think you more or less confirmed all the reservations that I had, that it's pretentious, it's long, it's boring, and it's not what
I could have dealt with. More pretension to drive a point, and even that was lacking. It was like, because I liked Oppenheimer, and that was
Yeah, if you give me substance behind the pretentiousness, I will be on board. I'll
follow you on this thread to a point where we're getting through all the wine tastery. Like Tenet was entirely made of that. I liked Oppenheimer. I really liked the Batman stuff that he did. I liked the one that Guy Pearce was in years ago with Carrie-Anne Moss, Memento. I liked that movie. Like he's done some cool shit that he's one of my favorite directors for the grand spectacle of things. This is the grandest of spectacle of things, and it just fell flat to me. I'm sure again I'll catch heat for that. Whatever. I just was like, whatever. Hey, Prunes. So yeah, that's my take on it. But yeah, you can wait for it to come out. I think. I don't think you need to race out and go see it in IMAX. How it was intended to be shown and stuff, but
for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, did you see anything else?
No, I did have a quick book thought. I know we do movies here.
Let's do books.
I did a book on tape. It is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It is the backbone of the bro science stoicism genesis that's been swiftering the nation by storm for probably the last 5 to 7 years or so, being right. Everyone's got their Memento Mori coin or tattoo and stuff like that. A few initial thoughts for someone as a historical figure that persecuted Christians. He had an awful lot of disbelief in the gods.
Yeah.
Meditations, to the best of my knowledge, were never intended to be a published writing work of Marcus Aurelius. I think it was a journal. So I don't think he wrote these thoughts down for anyone other than man versus self and in an enclosed environment. The highlights for me are that combating Stoicism with the other doctrines of that generation, there are some pretty pivotal points that are extraordinarily relatable in terms of you should live simply and not to excess in any one facet or the other. Keep an open mind, treat people with respect, even if they annoy you. And there was a lot of deep questioning of this man's place in society, in the world, and the world's place in the universe, that it was obvious he was struggling with understanding a complete answer for, and by de facto reverting back to experiences and examples set by powerful figures, principally men in his life. It's the exact same questions every generation will come to. And I don't think this is the shiniest of examples, particularly from this author, of something to live a life's doctrine by. Do I respect the points that are written throughout this body of work as standalone points? Yeah, they're pretty cool. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. It's one I've wanted to get around to for a decade and never did. I saw it on audiobook for free and said, yeah, it's time to give this a spin. Underwhelming. And for what it's worth, I think there's a lot more to offer yourself than just prescribing to Stoicism as the end all be all way to live your life. I also think
to make it your entire existence and personality rather than it being a book of notes to basically dip into when certain situations arise.
Yeah, I will say their grasp on the concepts of how things work technologically speaking and how their society was structured is incredible for the timepiece, for the time period that this was written in. Is mind-blowing how much they knew back then about how shit worked and all that. So being the cradle of a new age in civilization at that point, that struck me as very resonant. Like, cool, this is coming through in your private journals, and all of you have a very, very deep and broad understanding of how shit works, which is pretty cool from that far back. But was it enough to adopt as a life doctrine? I think a lot of people sell themselves short by prescribing to this as why you should wake up and function in the morning every day. Just honestly speaking, I don't think there's enough in there. And I'm shocked because there's a lot of people I know in my real life, many to all of whom that I respect a great deal, that are very my life is a soundbite from a Marcus Aurelius quote, you know, in Memento Mori, and on and on and on. And it's like, okay, I'll give it a spin. Boy, you are missing a lot, I think.
Yeah.
So for what it's worth, it's excellent to get familiar with understanding other people's concepts and what they're grasping onto. And it really leaves the reader wanting, if they're looking for some form of doctrine to execute the meaning of their life on. It is really laggard, in my opinion. And I'm no philosopher or theology practitioner, major authority of any kind. And even I can see that as a novice pleb listening to an audiobook. So it was interesting because it's a powerful book that a lot of people, and more so by, it seems like every year, are prescribing to as the way to be. So I got around to raising an eyebrow and listening in, and with an open mind. And I was a little bummed because you kind of have to keep the character of the author in mind when you read some of their works. And if you really zoom out, I think you're missing a bunch. So,
do you have a link to that free copy?
No, because I'm a Spotify premium member. You can just go to audiobook and then listen to it, whether you use Apple or Google or Audible or whatever. You know,
I'll
whatever.
look it up.
So I can send it to you personally. I can send you the link to the adaptation that I listened to. One of the guys in The Lord of the Rings was the narrator. Yes, I can provide that to you. To the audience, you just go find meditations.
No, I meant to be.
Yeah,
because I just got a new phone that now has space for that kind of stuff, so I can actually I can actually do this now.
And it's pretty quick too. You can bang it out in a couple days. It's like you know, I think there's 8 or 9 books of meditations that are not that long. Some of the books in totality were one sentence, and then they moved to a new book. So it's pretty short listen overall. Okay. So
who did you say reads it? Somebody from Lord of the Rings?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's somebody from Lord of the Rings. Let me pull it up on my phone right now. Meditations. Richard Armitage. So Peter Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy, known for his roles in Ocean's 8 and Spooks, and this definitive recording by Penguin Books includes the introduction by Diskin Clay. But yeah, it's Richard Armitage. So if you Google that guy, you'll be like, oh, that actor. I know that guy. But yeah, this adaptation is probably pretty dead on. It was written in Greek. People still speak and write in Greek today. Pretty easy to put together. It's not like a conversion from Latin or cuneiform or Sanskrit or some weird obscure background, whatever. But yeah, I'll shoot that over to you via text message, the link to what I listened to. And yeah, it's good, but it's not life-changingly good. That's my take.
Okay. Well, good to know. Yeah, it's just something that's always been on my radar that I've never gotten around to. I've read so many classics, but that was not one of them. And but you're right, it has become kind of a touchstone in current young male culture, or even like middle-aged men culture, where they're finding purpose within the pages of Marcus Aurelius that feels on the surface like they are finding structure and purpose in their lives through Stoicism, but from an outside looking in, it feels callous and feels deflective, and some other kind of concepts that aren't I wouldn't say inviting, but definitely something that seems to put them in a place of where they would end up solitary, because it rejects a lot of empathy, and it rejects a lot of human concepts to kind of basically brush them off for in their opinion better virtues.
Yes, and so I could honestly posit and argue to those people, if you can get through the bias to take jabs at postmodernism, I would offer Dr. Jordan Peterson as an alternative to maybe a broader scope viewpoint of not just the principles of Stoicism and the writings of Nietzsche, to how modern society has clinically and functionally been proven to succeed when you adapt maybe a broader viewpoint and you apply purpose to a lot of the stuff that Marcus Aurelius does not have an answer for. I think you'll find a lot more meaning and excitement to think about those things as an alternative, just as a guy that's throwing it out there as maybe a try this out.
I think purpose, one of the things that he was missing, and I could be wrong because I obviously have not read it, but if you look at it on a grander scale, purpose requires some form of sacrifice. And when you are Marcus Aurelius, it's very hard to find sacrifice. You have to seek it out. And it's uncomfortable to seek it out. So,
and he did seek it out.
Yeah. And so I would imagine that that he struggled with that because it didn't come to him in the natural forms that it comes to everybody else, where the struggles are exterior as well as interior. He had to go find them because everybody was padding his life as much as possible.
Correct. He wasn't born with any.
Yeah. And so
I mean, he lost his parents and stuff, but
with the when you're struggling with the concepts of life and how to navigate it from the area of which he was doing, don't get me wrong, the man was probably a very wise man and probably was very respected for his wisdoms, but his wisdoms can only be so all-encompassing if he's got outside perspectives that I think that maybe somebody in his position might have lacked. And so I'm really fascinated by this, and I'd really love to kind of dive into it. I think
you'd enjoy it because there's a lot of stuff in there that's extraordinarily relatable, even to modern day struggles. In that, there are a number of times in those passages where Marcus Aurelius puts down, like, you shouldn't be excited by the theater of somebody else's doctrine, and almost to the point of you should placate this person by smiling and nodding, but not buying into the doctrine that takes so many other philosophers to the nth degree of nonsense. There's a ton of that. Politics today, social media today, where you're like, I get what you're saying, but I don't need to follow the theatrics to their conclusion. It is not a good use of your time. Lots of that stuff's extremely relatable, and I see the appeal. I think you'll enjoy that too as you find those parallels. But it's a good listen.
I'll listen to it this week.
Yeah, it was a good listen. Just whatever. I think there's more out there. Hello to slance23. If I forgot to say hi, and Prunzi as well. Welcome in. Yeah, that's my book thoughts. I finally got around to Marcus Aurelius.
All right. Well, I'll actually be putting that on during my work week. So cool. I'll have maybe by next week I'll have some thoughts on it as well. So
cool.
I think that takes us to, speaking of overlords.
Yes. Let's do it.
We've got our overlord tip number 29 to close us out for the night. And, we touched on earlier when we were talking movies in Bonhoeffer and stuff, and we often think of, like, when you think of that regime or any regime really, whether it be historical or fictional, which oftentimes are plagiarizing history, you look at...
But history's written by the winner.
The systematic bad guys tend to have, let's say, a Hugo Boss aesthetic to them.
That's true.
And not so there's always...
Not to put too fine a point on that one.
Yeah, right. But there's always an aesthetic, and whether it be in a fictional sense or in reality, whether you're looking at, particular military powers in the planet or, in science fiction, you can always tell the bad guys by what they're wearing. And what they wear typically has an indicator of the demeanor of the people that they are.
Sometimes you can just tell.
Yeah, and that's intentional. Yeah. So if I, could offer any advice to any future overlords.
Yeah.
I would suggest that you dress it in bright and cheery colors so that you throw your enemies into confusion.
Yeah.
Wear reds, and even not even reds, wear tropical greens.
Hey, man.
Wear some teal. Wear some, some lavenders. Wear things that people will then question where your allegiances lie. Who are you? You're not intimidating. You don't look intimidating. And that's part of the factor of that type of clothing is the intimidation factor. And if you remove the intimidation factor, you have the element of surprise.
Yeah.
They are confused. And it's always better to have the upper hand of having your enemies on their heels because they're shocked, they're confused, they're surprised. So don't lead them down the trail of going, oh, there's the bad guys. Look at how they're all dressed. Throw them a curveball. Throw them a curveball. Wear some tie-dye. Wear some weird, bright and colorful clothes that just kind of throws them off, and you will never you will always have the upper hand. And so oftentimes wardrobe can speak volumes to the communication. Like even myself on a daily basis, I think about what clients I have coming in and I pick the shirt that I'm going to wear that day based on how I need to interact with those clients.
Is this true?
So it is absolutely true.
See, because I almost commented last week you were wearing a shirt I got for you. It was a Hawaiian pattern button down with Star Wars helmets and stuff on it. And I'm like, I love that he actually wears that. That's rad because I am the perfect gray man that constantly wears a black t-shirt and blue jeans. It is my uniform. I show no allegiances. The truth is I'm colorblind and those are colors I can see. So that's why I wear them all the time. But I had no idea that was actually part of the approach. I mean, hey, there's layers to this.
There is. I actually, with certain clients I know are either hostile to conservative values or Christian values, depending on that person, whether or not I kind of know I have a comfortable dialogue with that person and I can wear that kind of stuff, like my Christian shirts or my, more conservative kind of shirts. But if I know it's going to be combative to that person, if I know that it's going to cause a problem, I'll just wear a regular, like tattoo shirt. So that way I'm not putting them in an uncomfortable situation. If I know I can have a good dialogue even with that person, right, I'll wear it as a point of them being able to open.
Why have a contentious barrier to somebody you have to sit next to for hours?
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Every shirt that I have is, or how I dress is a message to the clients that I have that day, and it is something that I painstakingly kind of methodically make sure that my wardrobe fits the clientele for the day. It's the same thing with like music. I don't want to listen to heavy metal while I'm tattooing flowers. Sure, with skulls, like dark, like monsters and stuff, put it on, perfect. But if I'm tattooing flowers, it's gonna channel that kind of energy through me that I would rather have softer music. I'd rather have easygoing, lighter, maybe, like even reggae or something like to that effect, that will actually kind of channel through to the mood that is being put into those flowers.
Pro tip, as a guy that's gotten 1 or 2 tattoos before in my life, it is highly encouraged that your tattoo artist not be channeling aggression while they're stabbing you hundreds of thousands of times with tiny needles. Just
very true.
Put that in your head.
Yeah.
That's right, folks. Let me put my thoughts in you. Don't do it.
Yeah,
you want
absolutely.
them with serenity. Yeah.
Yeah. So
excellent overlord tip.
I think a lot of people ignore, like even tattooers, we ignore those kind of subtleties that I think oftentimes play into good work or bad work. And I think that we need to kind of pay attention to those things. And it's 10% of this and 10% of that and 10% of this that creates a whole.
How we create first impressions relies on all of our senses. Like if your shop looks clean, you look presentable, and there's nothing offensive going on, like loud, aggressive music, to not everyone likes that, to, you know, a big middle finger on your shirt or something like that, if they're bringing the kids in, like whatever the case, the wife in. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That is the first impression, the way things smell, the way things look, the way things, that makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. So the wardrobe is important even for overlords.
There you go.
So keep that in mind. But yeah, so that's it for Overlord tip number 29.
I love it. Well, like I said, my week is going to get really, really, really crazy, even worse, starting tomorrow. So we will keep you posted on the schedule as we go. I'm hopeful that we'll be back next week with not too much complication. Otherwise, bear with us because there's a lot going on and we're doing the best we can. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. Anything else?
No, that's it for me this week.
Sweet. All right, friends. Thanks everyone for stopping by. Have a good night.